basically concept we-discuss natin. So, at this time, and succeeding days, we'll be solving problems on dynamic programming. Okay? So, the first being, example number 1. So, pakibasa muna in your seat and then we'll discuss it later on. Okay. So, in this problem, we have a manager of a packaging company, and they have 4 salesmen, traveling salesmen. So, basically, the job of traveling salesman is to basically, in this case, to go to the different campuses to probably sell or promote the books that they are trying to sell, okay? And ang gusto ng manager is to assign these 4 salesmen sa 3 regions in the country, okay? And ang sabi dyan, dapat daw, bawat region should have at least 1 salesman, okay? So, in other words, hindi pwedeng magkaroon ng isang region na walang salesman. Okay? So she would like to determine how many salesmen should she allocate or assign to the respective regions. And we're given a table in the next slide showing how much increase in sales it can give if we allocate or assign n number of salesmen in the region. And this is the data. These are the data. Okay? If we allocate 1 salesman for region 1, the company will earn an additional sales of 4 pesos. Okay? Sa region 2 naman, it's 3 pesos. Region 3, it's 5. Okay? Kapag may dalawang salesmen na yan, it's going to be 6 and 6 and 7 respectively. And so on and so forth. Okay? So we are to solve the problem using dynamic programming. So how do we now do that? Okay? So as mentioned ko last time sa inyo regarding dynamic programming, okay? Dynamic programming is a process of breaking up problems into sub-problems. Right? Remember niyo yun? Okay? So in this case, we are to break up this problem into sub-problems. Okay? And this is being our stages in the problem. Okay? And then for every stage, as mentioned natin last time again, that there should be corresponding states and possible decisions that we could choose from, okay? So, given that, in every DP problem, there are 3 important things that we must properly define, okay? And these are the stage, state, and decision, okay? So, failure to define this correctly, or even failure not to define them, okay, would mean na you won't be able to solve the DP or the problem using DP. Okay? So, yan tatlo ang key for you to solve the problem using dynamic programming. Kapag hindi mo natutunan i-break up ang isang problem into smaller sub-problems, then wala na, blanco na lang ang papel nyo. Okay? Likewise, kung hindi mo rin alam kung anong decision ang dapat mong gawin in every stage, wala rin mangyayari. Kahit anong piga mo sa utak mo at hindi mo siya mapiga, obviously, yung paper mo malinis. Okay? Pass mo na lang siya, pangalan mo na lang. Sana pa-absent ka na lang, di ba? Okay? So, kaya importante yung tatlo. Okay? So, how do we now define them? Okay? Bibigyan ko na kayo ng guide. Ito lang itong bibigyan kong guide sa mga estudyante para hindi mahirapan dito sa pag-define ng stage to the decision. Okay? You always refer to our mathematical modeling or LP or ILP formulation. Okay? That is how, if you are to solve the model, if you are to formulate the problem, the model for the problem, how do you now define your decision variables? Okay? So, balikan natin dito. If you are to formulate the model for this one, what do you think should be a decision variable? Decision variable. I'm not asking about maximizing. Ang ulit ha. Tapos ka ng AX ng ING, maximizing pa yung decision variable mo. Ano? Number of salesmen, di ba? Could you please give the notation? XIP o XIJ? What is I? I mean what? Is it important for us to know kung sinong salesman ilalagay ko sa bot region? In this case, not. Diba? So therefore, I don't need I, or I don't need two subscripts. I only need just one. Xi being what? The number of salesmen to allocate in region I. Alright? Region I. So ngayon, how do we now divide the problem into sub-problems? Okay? So normally, ang stage natin would correspond to one of the subscripts in our decision variable. So in this case, we only have one decision variable. We only have one subscript. Tama? And that is I. And that is the region. So therefore, ang ating stage would be regions. Okay? So every region, you are to make a decision. And that decision is what? Ilang salesmen ang i-allocate. So, number of salesmen to allocate. Alright? Clear? Now, may isa pang kulang. That's the state. The state, again, if you are to relate this in a model, state should be one of the resources. And that is the constraints. So, in this case, the problem na to, what is your constraint? Yes, yung bisita natin. Okay?
So our state for this problem would be the number of salesmen available to be allocated in a specific at region I or at region or do we?
Yeah, okay, any region. Correct. That should be your state in this case. Okay, talo pa kayo ha. Kaya kayo yan. Okay. Ha? The state. Ano, comforting na sila, okay? The state. Okay, pero yun na kayo. Bakit? Ano? Statistically, may significance ba yung third year, fourth year? Wala, 1 year difference. Okay? So, therefore, the state would be ilan yung salesmen available natin. Diba? Ilang resource dito eh. Salesmen. The number of salesmen available. That is the resource. Okay? And that would be our state in this case. Okay? So, number of salesmen available. Alright? Clear? Clear? Okay, so dapat laging tama yung tatlo ha. Kapag yan hindi mo na-define, or mag-define ka, mali naman, then obviously, you won't be able to answer the problem. Okay? So, let's now proceed. So, pag gagamit tayo ng DP class, ang ginagamit nating method is to come up with a table. Okay? Table in such a way na para natin so systematically we're trying to enumerate possible solutions in the problem. Okay? Although, not all the time, table is necessary. Kasi there are problems wherein wala ka namang datang binigay. Everything is in terms of notations. Okay? So in that case, hindi mo kailangan mag-table. Okay? Kaya mag-resort tayo into equations kapag ganon. Okay? But given that we have a data here, table would be fine. But we still have to formulate equations later on. So kailangan pa rin yun. Okay? Para masanay kayo. So let's start by filling out or defining our stage 1, which is region 1. Okay? And then filling out the possible states and decisions in every stage. Okay? So for region 1 class, let's first define our S1 being the state for stage 1. Okay? So ilang salesmen ang available? 4. Alright? Now, what are the possible decisions? Ilang salesmen ang pwede ko i-allocate? Can I allocate 3? Why? Kasi may isang matitira, dalawang regions pa ang bibigyan natin. Kailangan every region must have at least 1. Diba? So, ibig sabihin, we limit our allocation to just 2. Okay? What about 0? Is 0 possible? No. So, ang only candidates would be 1 or 2 lang. So, 1 and 2. Okay? So, 1 and 2. Okay? Now, region 2 or stage 2. So, by the way, class, you probably notice na medyo ang laki ng spacing ko, di ba? Okay? It's because may mga ilalagay pa tayo sa in-between tables. So, if you are to copy, make sure you have enough space between tables. Okay, or otherwise, you just copy later on. Okay? Now, region 2, this time, or stage 2. Okay? What are the possible states for region 2 or stage 2? Okay? Kanina, sa region 1 or stage 1, meron tayong 4 na salesmen. Right? Kung mag-a-allocate ka, nakapag-video ako. Kung mag-a-allocate ka ng isang salesman for region 1, okay? So, ilang salesmen ang matitira for the next stage? 3. Diba? So, we have 3 as a possible state for region 2 or stage 2. Diba? Kung mag-allocate ka naman ng 2 for region 1, 4 less 2, 2. So, therefore, 2 is another possibility as a state for region 2 or stage 2. Tama? Next, what are the possible decisions that you could take for stage 2? Again, 1 and 2, or 1 or 2. Okay? Sundan? Clear, ha? Next, stage 3 or region 3. What are the possible states for region 3? So, 1 or 2. Bakit 1? Kasi, kung meron kang 3, nag-allocate ka ng 2, then you have 1 salesman remaining for stage 3. Diba? Kung meron ka namang 3 din, nag-allocate ka ng 1 lang, then you would have 2 salesmen available for region 3. Okay? And possible decisions could be 1. Yes, right.
Ba't hindi nyo nakasunod? Equation nyo nakasunod? Yeah.
Pwede naman. Mamaya, magkakaroon tayo equations.
Okay.
If you ask for it, I'll give you later. Help me out with the equation. Okay? So now that we have filled out our table in terms of the state and decisions, i-fill up naman natin yung loob mismo ng table. Okay? Kasi ba sabi natin last time, for every combination ng decision and a state, there is a reward. Okay? So yung reward na yan ang ating kukumputin. And the reward is basically what? Yan yung ating gustong i-optimize or i-maximize in this case. Okay? Alright? So, to be able to do that, we're going to use the process of backward pass. Meaning, we start filling out the last stage hanggang ma-reach natin yung pinaka-first stage. Okay? That's the backward pass. Although, pwede ka rin gumamit ng forward pass. Okay? And sabi ko kasi last time, meron tayong isang problem later on na we'll be doing forward pass. Okay? Let's start with stage 3 muna. Okay na ba? Stage 3. Okay. If you have 1 salesman available for allocation and you decided to allocate that salesman for region 3, how much increase in sales that you could generate? We have 5. And 5. Okay, wala akong ginawang computations, ha? Kinuha ko na yung value saan? Sa table. Okay? Walang daya, walang magic. Okay? Next. If I have 1 salesman available, can I allocate 2? Definitely not. So therefore, this combination is infeasible. Yeah? Hindi siya pwede mangyari. Okay? How can you allocate 2 if you only have 1? Saan pupunin yun? Okay? Now, next, if you have 2 salesmen available and you will allocate just 1 salesman, how much increase in sales? 5 as well. Okay? Now, if you have 2 salesmen and you allocate both to region 3, how much increase in sales? So 7. Right. Okay? So these are the rewards. Okay? Now, next column. F3 asterisk. What's F3 asterisk again, class? It's the optimal kapag may akit ng asterisk is the best solution, right? So, basically, it's the recursive function or value. So, in this case, if S3 is equal to 1, what do you think is the best solution? To allocate 1 to earn 5 pesos increase in sales. So, this is 5. Tama? So, basically, we just choose the maximum between the two. The fact that ito is infeasible, we only have 1 option. O actually, wala kang option, kundi ito lang. Di ba? Ito lang. Alright, so we choose 5. What about if S3 is 2? 7 7, okay, is the highest or the higher increase in sales. So we choose that one. And what would be our decision X3 asterisk? Kapag para mangyari yung 5, we have to allocate just 1. Para mangyari yung 7, we have to allocate 2. O yan. So this is now the table for region 3 or stage 3. Clear?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, now, hindi pa tapos yan. We are now to formulate the functions. Okay, o Ryan, kailangan natin mag-formulate.
Yun ba yun?
So, sabi natin, for every pair ng state and decision, there is a reward. How did we get these reward values? Okay, so F3, S3, X3. Okay, how did we get the 5, 5, 7? Obviously, hindi tayo nag-compute. We just took the value from the table. Yes.
So our recursive formula for this problem is F3, S3, S3 equals sales, S3 given on with X.
Given ko yung S3 tsaka X3, right? So in other words, it's just if a function, or let's say, we let P be the profit or the sales taken from the table depending on the S3 and X3 value. Right? So I could put here S3, X3. Alright? So meaning kapag sinabi kong S3 is 1 and then X3 let's say is 1, so you just look at the table. Okay? Actually, ito yung importante eh. Okay? In fact, pwede kong gawin, in this case, I could just use PX3. Pwede rin. Okay? Gusto ko lang siya kung gawin kompleto, kaya meron akong S3 dyan. So, though this one can be eliminated, pwede X3 ka na lang. Alright? Tama? Now, next, this equation is applicable to all except this one. Right? So, dapat ma-eliminate natin na hindi ka dapat mag-complete dito from this particular equation. Okay? So, this is only applicable if what? S3 is greater than equal to X3. Diba? Bigyan natin. If X3 is 1, okay, what are the, kapag X3 daw is 1, so you must have, this equation holds true for S3 equal to 1 and 2. Diba? But, if X3 is, let's say, 2, automatically, dapat sa 2 lang available, ang applicable. So, that is, S3 will be 2. Okay? So, this equation, or this relationship holds true, or must hold true para dito. Okay? So, para at least ito, never mong kukunin. Never kang kukuha ng profit dito o ng sales dito. Kasi nga, infeasible yan. Clear? Ganyan? So, this function is what we call our return function. That's the return function. Okay? Next, after that, we formulate the recursive function. How did we get to 5 and 7 sa ating F3 asterisk? So, F3 asterisk is our what? It's just the maximum, di ba? It's the maximum of, actually, F3 na lang muna lagyan natin, S3, X3, or basically that is the maximum of PS3, X3. Okay? Alright? Maximum between what? Between 1 and 2. Okay? So, pwede ko ilagay dyan that X3 could be between 1 or 2. Pero I want to have a generic relationship instead of using 2. Okay? Kasi tandaan natin na yung 2 only applies kapag S3 is between, if S3 is 2. But if S3 is 1, dapat 1 lang. Wala kang ibang choice, di ba? Tama? So, kahit ko malagay yung 2 dyan. Okay? So, therefore, ano yung best na ilalagay kong upper limit? S3, very good. If S3 is 1, automatically your choice is just 1. Tama? If your S3 is 2, you have between 1 and 2 as your choices. Okay? Okay, use mo na.